Esther Nwachukwu. And here are the top stories. Tension as a Shakiri native shut down oil refinery in Delta. Rivers Administrator Ibas makes fresh appointments hours after appointing local government administrators. Tension looms as Lamidi Akpokpa takes over Labour Party, names new leadership. Peter Obi speaks on dumping Labour Party. NYSC speaks on extending service year by 3 months. Global oil prices down to lowest in 4 years as US-China tariff war escalates. Details now. Operations have been reportedly put to a halt at the 28,000 barrels per day oil production refinery in Ogbigidben, Warri, Delta State, as the Shakiri natives shut down the facility today. In a video clip recently released, hundreds of Ogidben natives were seen protesting at the entrance of the facility. The development has raised tension in the area. VOP News understands that a large number of locals gathered at the oil production facility that was formerly managed by Shell Petroleum Development Company. The protest, which happened at the facility, which was recently been taken over by Renaissance Energy Africa Energy Holdings, involved women, youth and men. The Shakiri natives protested against the recommendations made by NEC regarding the delineation in the Warri federal constituency. The demonstrators stated that the protest would extend to other significant national assets and facilities within Ishakiri land if prompt action is not undertaken. This protest occurred just a week after NEC suggested the delineation of wards and polling units in the Warri federal constituency following a ruling by the Supreme Court. While in Rivers State, the sole administrator there, Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas, has made significant strides in reshaping the state's administrative landscape, announcing new appointments to the Civil Service and Local Government Service Commissions. These changes come alongside the controversial appointment of administrators for the 23 local government councils despite a restraining order from the Federal High Court. In a formal announcement today, a special statement signed by the Secretary to the State Government, Professor Ibibia Loki Worika, confirmed the appointments, which include prominent figures across various state commissions. Also, while this ongoes, the latest appointment comes on the heels of Vice Admiral Ibas' controversial actions, including the appointment of administrators across all 23 local government councils in the area. Now, in a very recent development, Bashir Lamidi Akpokpa today announced that he has assumed the leadership of the Labour Party following the Supreme Court ruling that removed Julius Saburi as the national chairman of the opposition party. Akpokpa made this declaration during a press conference today, citing the April 4, 2025 Supreme Court judgment that nullified Aburi's leadership as a reason for his decision. He further clarified that following the Supreme Court's decision to dismiss a cross-appeal filed by the ousted former national chairman, Julius Saburi, all actions and decisions made by Abure since April 4, 2023 are now null and void. Now, in a very recent development, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 general elections, Peter Obi, has decided to address the rumors circulating about his potential departure from the Labour Party, firmly and statefully denying the claims and clarifying his commitment to the Labour Party's tenure. During his address at the ongoing National Executive Council meeting in Abuja, Obi assured party members that he had not discussed leaving the Labour Party with any individual or group, while he had emphasized that any actions or decisions regarding the party's direction would be made collectively with its stakeholders. Obi also took the opportunity to address his party members about the state of the nation, urging them not to be intimidated by everyone. He expressed concerns over Nigeria's current state, describing the country as being on the brink of collapse. Do not fear anybody. Those who were afraid yesterday didn't do any better. We must speak out when things are going wrong. Nigeria is collapsing. The numbers are clear. The indices are clear. People are getting poorer every day. He reinforced the need for unity within the party, stating that Labour Party has chosen to be a family and everything must be done to remain as so. It's not about Peter Obi's choice, it's everyone's choice. This family excludes no one. We want to build a party that is fair and just. Obi stressed that the Labour Party must be fully prepared for future elections with a focus on presenting the best and competent candidates for the House of Representatives, the Senate governorships, and the presidency. In another development, the National Youth Service Corps has denied certain reports which claim the service year has been extended by 3 months. The report had claimed starting with members of the 2025 batch aged during one service year would now be extended by 3 months. It claimed the extension was due to a recent policy review and added that updated call-up numbers, letters, and new orientation dates would be duly communicated. However, the NYSC, in a reaction via its official Facebook page on Wednesday, has labeled the report as fake news. The Minister of Youth, Comrade Ayodele Olawande, had urged the National Youth Service Corps management to revise its program to ensure that corps members receive adequate rest during the 21-day orientation camp. Now, in a very recent development, the global crude prices have crashed by 6% on Wednesday as a tariff war between the United States and China escalated. Oil price data showed that WTI crude futures slumped by around $4 or 6.7% to $56.06 per barrel, while Brent tumbled to 59.33% per barrel at the time of filing this report. The drop is the lowest crude price decline since February 2021. The development comes as U.S. President Donald Trump on Wednesday confirmed the 104% tariff on Chinese import. In a tit for tat, China slammed 84% on U.S. goods in response to Trump's tariff. Beijing said China's tariffs takes effect on April 10. You're currently listening to the World News at 6 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. It's now time for a news analysis segment, and I actually have right here in the studio Mr. Dele Fanimo. Mr. Dele Fanimo is a political, national and social affairs commentator. Mr. Dele, how are you?
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for being here as well. I know very soon you will need to leave me for another very, very interesting program. So let's go straight up. Today, basically, most of the news was about the Labour Party. The Nana-Ado Usman decided to come together and ensure that the party formulates a policy that will steer them towards a right direction. Now, after the Supreme Court ruling, we started hearing permutations. Julius Abure is saying there's no vacancy for the chairmanship position. And all of a sudden, Lamidi Akwakwa, that has been quite quiet and silent for a while, recently came and declared that he has assumed the chairmanship position of the Labour Party. What exactly is the situation with Lamidi that he crops up? He just comes up at any point in time and becomes a serious issue. He did that during the tribunal when the 2023 elections tribunal proceeding was ongoing. He was a major distraction for the party, and now this. And then if it happens to be that Julius Abure is insisting that he remains the chairman, what would now happen with the Nana-Ado Usman committee and all the meeting that was had with the Labour Party executives today?
You see, one thing about life is sometimes you may be very strong, but in the final analysis, when the chips are down, you just find out that you are probably the weakest link in the process. Now, I want to tell you that the day that Congress held in Abia, where Nana-Ado Usman 15-member committee was inaugurated, was the day Abure was thrown under the bus. Now, the question you ask yourself, after that day, those political actors that resuscitated a comatose Labour Party, on whose side have they been all this while? It was on the side of Nana-Ado Usman. And it's one thing for the court to say this. And what the court says is effectively throwing the party back to the owners of the party, which are political actors, people that have been voted in and holding political office, and the big shots like Peter Obi, Alex Oti, and co, and some members of the National Assembly and State Assembly. Now, where is the place of Abure in all of this? If we don't have to go too far in interpreting the Supreme Court judgment, the Supreme Court judgment said that the court does not have jurisdiction over who is a member of the National Working Committee or National Executive Committee of any political party, which effectively just threw the party back to the owners. And if the owner says they don't want you, what do? You have to step aside. And Abure is just wasting his time. He's already gone. He's been gone for months.
So what about the whole recent upsurge of Lamidi Akwakwa?
You see, Lamidi Akwakwa is just trying to play himself back into reckoning and relevance.
Oh, really, just all of a sudden, just, even when the Supreme
Yes.
Court gave the ruling, he never said anything. He made no comment
You see-
up until today that the National Executive Council meeting held with Alex Oti, Peter Obi, Dati Baba Ahmed, and a couple of Labour Party stalwarts. And then Lamidi Abubakar appears from nowhere and says that he's taken over the chairmanship position since Abure
see-
has been sacked by the Supreme Court.
You see, Lamidi Abubakar is just going to be used as a fall guy to effectively silence Abure and the few members of Labour Party that are still with him. Ultimately, the Nenadi Usman committee, the 15-member committee of the Nenadi Usman, would midwife a national congress that will bring about the new set of leadership for Labour Party before the end of the year.
Before the end of the year.
Yes.
But what about those detractors? Are they not deliberately there to stunt? Because this is causing confusion.
No, it's
if
not.
you hear Lamidi Abubakar saying that he's now the chairman, Peter Obi has now decided to remain that he's staying with the Labour Party. A couple of supporters are saying, we don't want you in this Labour Party, because obviously the party just seems to have ugly heads roar and decide to decapitate whatever progress they have made.
No, you see, let me tell you, most Nigerians, we don't understand the ways of the politician. You understand? And there is a particular title of a novel by James Hadley Chase. He said, I'm sorry to say this, but it's just in this context. You never know with women.
You never
What?
know with women.
Yes.
Okay.
So in this case, you never know with politicians. Politicians, Winston Churchill, an elder statesman in UK,
Okay.
once said, we politicians, we don't even believe and trust ourselves. Why would the people out there believe us? So there could be posturing, could be cat flying, there could be so many things going on. But one thing is constant. There is a movement to revive Labour Party.
Do you think people still trust the Labour Party? With everything that has happened, with all the elements and the behavior, the representatives of the House of Rep did not deliver. You have a Valentine Ozigbo, who was a once loyal member, living at the crux towards the governorship elections governorship primaries for Anambra State to the APC. You have a couple of persons that would have kind of resuscitated the party leave. And if that is the case, do you think that the staunch support they had in 2023, strategically, would it be a political possibility for Peter Obi to continue on in that party despite what has transpired from 2023 till now?
Whatever gain Labour Party could lay claim to was simply as a result of Obedient and Peter Obi.
Okay.
And so it will be in the best interest of Labour Party to make sure that the likes of Peter Obi, Alex Oti, Nenadi Usman, and all these big shots don't exit Labour Party. Again, I've always said something, that party is merely a platform in Nigeria and not a political party. You can jump from party A to party B in minutes and still return back to party A in another minute, because there is no ideology. If you ask a Labour Party card-carrying member today, what do you stand for as a political party, he will not be able to explain to you. But anybody in Conservative Party in UK, anybody in Democratic Party in US, anybody in Republican Party in US will tell you that this is our mantra. This is where we go. And so that thing is ingrained in your system. It's latent in you, such that dropping that toga in 1 minute and crossing to the other side is like committing political suicide. But here in Nigeria, the same person that received you today will wash his hands clean if you leave that party tomorrow. And that is why those people in the National Assembly, as soon as they got there, because they were only looking for a vehicle that would take them to the National Assembly, they fused with other members, and there was no difference between opposition and the majority party that dominated the House. So today, anybody in the National Assembly, the question you ask yourself is, even when somebody who has transformed from an Okada rider in Kaduna South.
So
Suddenly
it's a
becomes
House of Rep member.
a House of Rep member, and he was offered 160 million naira vehicle. He didn't reject. And there was no whimper from him and his colleagues in the minority party. So that is to tell you that there is no political party but platform. And as long as there is no law that gives opportunity for independent candidacy, the likes of Peter Obi would always look for a platform to engage Nigerians.
All right. Apparently, the Nenadi Usman committee with Peter Obi and Alex Oti, they went to visit INEC. And INEC is saying that they are maintaining neutrality and transparency in the discharge of its duties as touching the leadership tussle in the Labour Party. This was made known by INEC's acting chairman, Sam Olumeku, during a visit by Labour Party leaders to the INEC headquarters today. Now, during which they urged the electoral body to officially recognize Senator Esther Nenadi Usman as the legitimate chairman of the party. They want Nenadi Usman to become the legitimate chairman of the party. Well, as it stands now, INEC is saying that they want to be neutral in this whole situation, and that Governor Oti, formerly who presented a formal certificate true copy of the Supreme Court judgment concerning the party's leadership, confirmed that both parties engaged in meaningful discussions targeted at reinforcing democratic values. So, in this case, is INEC going to look at the CTC copy of the Supreme Court judgment and decide to know if they would validate the petition to ensure that Nenadi Usman becomes a new chairman? If INEC decides to remain neutral and doesn't give any resolution, then what happens?
Whoever went to INEC
to
submit the CTC of that judgment is a member of that political party.
Yes.
And it is very clear, it was written in English language and not Spanish or French, that court jurisdiction has been ousted as far as leadership of a political party is concerned. So what that means is effectively they have returned the power to nominate, to appoint in those people that own that party. Okay. And as of today, Peter Obi, Oti are the highest ranking member of that political party. And they have endorsed Nenadi Usman-led committee. And so be it.
Okay, fine. Has Julius Abure's tenure expired? Has Julius Abure's tenure expired?
They have determined the expiration of Julius Abure's tenure.
There are some factions
by holding that political congress.
Okay.
And that congress has not been invalidated by INEC. It has not been invalidated by INEC. It is still subsisting. And that's why they have the power to go back to INEC and say, yes, with this Supreme Court judgment, which has validated our position that we are the owners of the party and we determine who becomes our leaders in the National Working Committee and National Executive Committee of that party. This is our representative. These are the members of the caretaker committee that would eventually midwife an election that will bring about the emergence of properly elected members of our party that will hold sway for a certain period of time. Very simple.
So why is Julius Abure hanging on to the fact that he still remains the chairman? And who are the factions within the Labour Party saying that they still recognize Julius Abure as the chairman? If, as you have said at this moment, Julius Abure's tenure has expired, unless he wants to recampaign or recontest to be the chairman of the party. So why remain there? And should it be about your interest? If at all majority of the party members don't want you to lead them, then what exactly are you doing there?
Abure is an average politician.
An average politician?
Yes.
Are you sure he's not being used? Somebody is not using him to ensure that the party becomes balkanized?
At his own peril, will he allow himself to be used by any external factor?
Does he have anything to lose if he's being used?
But to what end is he going to be used? Because already the rug has been swept off his feet.
Okay.
He doesn't, for instance, by now they would have withdrawn all the privileges attached to his office from him. And so if he goes there, he just goes there as just an ordinary man on the street coming to the party secretariat. He doesn't have that paraphernalia of office that gives him that entitlement to claim that he is the leader of that
the
political
Labour Party. All right, Mr. Delifanimo, thank you so much. I know that you have another program you have to be part of. I would have loved to ask you more questions, but let me let you go so that my colleague will not chop me raw. Thank you very much, Mr. Delifanimo. All right. Meanwhile, the National Identity Management Commission (NIMC) has said some buyers of national identity numbers from voters in Anambra State have been arrested. Now, politicians ahead of the November 8th governorship elections in the state moved to local communities in the state to obtain NIN of voters. In a statement today, the spokesperson of NIMC, Kaide Adekoke, said the commission acted following information that some individuals were asking for NIN from Anambra residents in exchange for money. Well, the National Identity Management Commission has been notified of the activities of unauthorized individuals, organizations purportedly asking for the submission of the National Identification Number of Anambra residents in exchange for money, which contravenes the NIMC Act number 23/2007, Data Protection Act and Cybercrime Act. Upon receiving the information on the activities of the unscrupulous individuals, NIMC, in conjunction with the Department of State Services and the Nigerian Police Force, swiftly arrested the culprits behind the illegal collection of NIN. Adegoke warned Anambra residents against giving their NIN to politicians for monetary compensation. Meanwhile, in this very recent development, however, reactions have stemmed from a recent protest. A group of aggrieved women from Okeere, a community in Yagba West local government area of Kogi State, today staged a protest against what they described as the endless reign of terror unleashed on their people by armed kidnappers and Fulani headsmen. In a video seen recently, the women, mostly elderly, appeared half naked as they marched through the community with mournful chants lamenting the incessant attacks, kidnappings, and killings that had plagued their town for months. Some of the protesters could be heard wailing as they sang sorrowful songs, pleading with relevant authorities to intervene for an immediate solution. The protesting women were seen holding sticks and leaves while protesting in a video seen very lately. The women of Okera in Yagba West local government area of Kogi State made prayers for the security of the land against kidnappers and Fulani headsmen. You know that suspected kidnappers attacked travelers along the Ayere-Kaba Federal Expressway in Kogi State, abducting 3 passengers and injuring 4 others in March. Injured victims were rushed to St. John's Hospital in Kaba for medical treatment. This is among incidents of abduction and killings in the state blamed on the headsmen's onslaughts. And just before we go, here again are the top stories. Tension as the Shakiri natives shut down oil refinery in Delta. Rivers Administrator Ibas makes fresh appointments hours after appointing local government administrators. Tension looms as Lamidi Akpakpa takes over Labour Party, names new leadership. Peter Obi speaks on dumping Labour Party. NYSC speaks on extending service year by 3 months. And global oil prices down to lowest in 4 years as US-China tariff war escalates. That's a wrap on the World News at 6. My name is Esther Wachuku. Good evening. Thank you for listening to join me for the evening rush at precisely 7 p.m.